And just about 90 minutes from right now, kids are going to start streaming through the gates at the White House for the annual Easter egg roll. It's so much fun. If you're a kid in Washington, D.C., you want to be there today.
Yes. What do you mean if you're a kid? I want to be there.
It was cool. I saw it last year. It's pretty neat. Kids love it. Yeah.
That's good stuff.
Anyway, Ainsley is there, and we're going to catch up with her in about 10 minutes. But in the meantime, 6 o'clock here in New York City, and we start this hour with a Fox News alert. Officials in Sri Lanka now say Islamic militants are most probably responsible for the coordinated Easter Sunday attacks on churches and hotels across that country.
Nearly 300 people, including Americans, now confirmed dead.
Aisha Hosni is live in the newsroom with the breaking developments. Aisha?
Yeah, good morning to you. Sri Lanka's health minister has just announced that a local militant group known as the National Tawheed Jamaat carried out these attacks. And officials said the government actually received a warning that the group was planning attacks 10 days ago. Of course, that's now raising new questions about what could have been done to stop these attacks. At least 24 people have been arrested so far. 290 people are confirmed to be dead. Another 500 more are wounded. Investigators say the initial wave of attacks was carried out by 7 suicide bombers. This all unfolded on Easter Sunday as Christians were celebrating one of the holiest days of the year. Now, most of these blasts were near the capital city of Colombo that you see right there on the map. It's a popular tourist destination. The U.S. State Department now confirming that, yes, some Americans were killed in these attacks. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said this in a statement, quote, "These vile attacks are a stark reminder of why the United States remains resolved in our fight to defeat terrorism. We stand with the Sri Lankan government and people as they confront violent extremism." And the State Department has also issued a revised warning on travel now to Sri Lanka and has said that terror groups are still continuing to plot and possibly even carrying out new attacks in hotels and churches. Back to you.
All right.
Aisha, thank you.
Thanks, Aisha.
Appreciate it.
All right. So according to the health minister, as she just detailed, they believe this Islamic militant group could be behind it, the National Tawheed Jamaat. 10 days ago, they got all sorts of intel that said that they could be planning something, stage some attacks. But the warnings at that point were not so specific to act upon, according to the Sri Lankans. They did not include mentioning hotels or tourist sites as potential targets. And as we know, hotels were part of the target.
Absolutely. All the signs are there. Listen, it's Easter. It's prominent churches. It's 7 suicide bombers. This is straight out of the Al-Qaeda ISIS playbook. And this group, NJT, are the initials they go, local radical Muslim group, but they've been linked to desecration of Buddhist sites. It's a majority of Buddhist country. And their aim, the goal of this group, is to spread the global Islamist movement to Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka's seen a lot of violence, but it was about political violence within the country. You've got Indonesia, big Muslim countries in the neighborhood. They're hoping to spread the same goal of Al-Qaeda and ISIS in Sri Lanka, and they targeted Christian churches on Easter.
Yeah, just a lesson to us all, too, because when you have a warning like this, it can be very nonspecific, and it's what do you do about it? But there has to be a way to take a warning like that and heed some action, because that's a 10-day period. And look at the massive devastation. I mean, if you look at these numbers, death toll of 290, 500 wounded, you know, Americans, members of people from Britain. I mean, this really spanned so many individuals and such gross devastation that there has to be a way to heed a warning like that and at least have authorities respond in some manner, if that means amped up security or whatever you can do, because look at what it's capable of. It's
absolutely.
It also means
devastating.
there was sophistication.
That's right.
And the capability to deliver. It's not easy to build a bomb that size and then execute a plan in 7 to 9 locations at nearly the same time. I mean, it happened throughout the day, but the first 3 coordinated at churches.
Well, it sounds like they were mainly suicide bombers. They convinced themselves this is what they were going to be doing. Don Bramer, a former intel officer and Iraq veteran, says even though ISIS has been disbanded, we still have to pay attention.
As ISIS has disbanded across the globe, you know, all of us need to stay alert. We need to understand that these type of targets, whether it's shopping centers, whether it's places we worship, you know, our faith is going to continue to be tested here. It is terror, and these are extremists that will continue to strike until we do something.
This hasn't stopped, isn't stopping. You're seeing desecration of religious sites and attacks in Europe. You've seen it in the Middle East. Christian churches, Christians, Jews targeted directly, and it's radical Islamists. And you got to get at the ideology, and then you got to find them and get get rid of them, too.
Yeah, and to do something in this country as well. There's amped up security happening around worship centers. This is the most terrifying thing to me, because a worship center is a place people go for peace, to find, what they consider the most safety, the most security. So when these areas are threatened, I think people become most alarmed, most terrifying. So we have to figure out a way, as not only a country, but as a world, to kind of come together and address these attacks to prevent them as much as we possibly can.
It is literally a holy war.
Yeah.
All right.
You're right.
Meanwhile, let's move on to politics. And later on today, because they are officially in recess, the Democrats are going to have a conference call, and they're going to try to figure out, okay, we've got this Mueller report. What do we do? Do we call for the impeachment of the president? Because that's just going to embolden him, because we can't do it in the Senate, and he's going to hit us over the head with it all the way to November 2020.
Yes, and it's also not popular with independent voters they've already made up their mind whether they believe Mueller or not, to continue to investigate and then push for impeachment. Isn't necessarily a winning message for 2020 Democrats.
Right, and that's the split in the Democratic Party, right? You have those who are saying impeach, 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 and then you have those that are saying, hold on a second, is this the best course for us to get to victory in 2020? Take a listen to what Democrats had to say when they were chatting about impeaching President Trump after the Mueller report, right here.
The fact of the matter is, I think that when you look at this report, you can see that there's enough information to move forward with impeachment on this president.
What is the best thing for the country? It may be that we undertake an impeachment nonetheless.
If proven, some of this would be impeachable, yes.
All right,
Obstruction of justice, if proven, would be impeachable.
If we did not win, possibly, if there were not impeachment, what is going to happen is that the president is going to be emboldened.
I tell you what.
True.
Yeah, it's either way.
Keep in mind, when it comes to the presidential candidates, I think Elizabeth Warren is the only one who says, let's go ahead and impeach him. There are a couple of members of Congress, Al Green, Rashida Tlaib, and AOC are on that bandwagon. But apparently, most Democrats, and this according to a New York Times article this morning, see the Mueller report as a way to fundraise, and also as a best way to hit the president right up to 2020. Just keep knocking him on the head. Remember what the Mueller report said. It was ambiguous about obstruction of justice. He did it.
And it wasn't Mueller's job to exonerate anybody. It was to look into it and then hand it over. Now, the president, asking a question on Twitter about this, he said, how do you impeach a Republican president for a crime that was committed by the Democrats? Make America great again. Now, if you want to hear a great take on this, you can always go to Mark Levin, and he was on the channel earlier talking about the Mueller report and impeachment. This is his take.
This is a disgrace, what's being done to this country by the Democrat Party and by the media. One and the same. It is a disgrace. This is the greatest scandal in American history. Not that the Russians tried to interfere with our election. They did, and they always do. The Mueller team saw it, and so the Mueller team wrote, particularly Volume 2, for the Democrats in the House of Representatives. This is an impeachment report. They wrote it for CNN. They wrote it for MSNBC. They wrote it for Nadler and Schiff and all the other reprobates. They wrote the report for them. Who cares about the justice system? Not one.
Yep, he's absolutely right. I was just going to say, how do I applaud that? He's absolutely 100% right. This was written as a way for Democrats to run with impeachment. And I would just warn Democrats that the voting public is getting really tired of investigations. Originally, they were saying, yeah, let's see if there's any collusion. This is an important issue. Now it turns out there is no collusion. There was no conspiracy with the Russians. I warn Democrats, if you stray away from issues for too long, if you're not talking about the economy, if you're not talking about health care, particularly at a time when the economy is doing really well under this president, it's going to be your race that you're going to lose as a result.
Well, there were 18, and now there are 19 candidates on the Democrat side.
Who's not running?
Well, we think Joe Biden might run this week. That's what we're hearing later on in the week. But the name you may not know just joined the field. His name is Representative Seth Moulton. He's out of Massachusetts. He's an Iraq War veteran, and he put out an announcement video yesterday. Take a watch.
Even in a war I disagreed with, there's nothing I'm more proud of than being a grunt, being on the ground, serving with those Marines. It turned out that the war was based on a lie. I returned home and decided to run for Congress because I realized that a lot of Americans are feeling betrayed by Washington. It's all led to an administration that's turned away from our values and is shredding our moral authority. I'm running because we have to beat Donald Trump. And I want us to beat Donald Trump because I love this country.
Okay, so that's just about 30 seconds of about a 4-minute video that he put out 50 minutes ago online. You know, we've seen people declare on social media, on the Late Night Show, and there's a video that has just been released. Seth Moulton wants to be your next president.
And as a vet, I think that's an important point. That will be an absolute strong point for him. The question is, how will these candidates distinguish themselves?
Is it a strong point for him? Because, I mean, I've known Seth Moulton for many years, personally. I've spent time with him. He's an Iraq War vet, great service to this country, smart guy. But I don't like the fact that he leads with, it was based on a lie. That's such a basic telling to toss to the left. You don't have to believe that the Iraq War ended in good consequences, but don't sell it as a lie as someone who's very proud of his service. I think it's beneath him.
True, but I think he may be talking to some independent voters. There are Democrats.
He's talking to the base.
Well, he's also talking to some independents and non-interventionists and libertarians and people who may not like either side right now. But we need to talk to a certain woman here who is looking stunning, by the way, and that is Jillian.
Good morning.
You get the prize for the best Easter dress.
You do. Yes.
I do look like Easter.
I'm going to try to steal that after this.
Thank you, guys. All right, let's get you caught up on some of your other stories, starting with this. A woman is tackled inside church on Easter Sunday. Parishioners jumping into action when they spotted her holding a baby and a gun.
From behind me came this young lady, and she had a baby, and she also had a gun. It was unloaded, but she had a gun, and she was just having a conversation, and basically she just wanted to be heard.
Well, as you heard, San Diego police say Anna Conkley's guns were not loaded and no one was hurt. She's under arrest. Her children are in protective custody. Today, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is expected to announce all countries importing oil from Iran will face U.S. sanctions. The Washington Post reports the Trump administration is ending waivers for these 8 countries that look to the country for oil. The U.S. is ramping up pressure on Iran to curb its nuclear program. The change takes effect on May 2nd. And it's no joke, a comedian with zero political experience is elected president of Ukraine. Volodymyr Zelensky beating the incumbent in a landslide, scoring more than 70% of votes. The comedian is best known for his role in a TV series where his character accidentally becomes president of Ukraine. The irony there, he will serve a 5-year term. Send back to you.
Life imitating art.
Amazing.
Thank you, Jillian.
Thanks, Jillian.
Well, as you saw at the top of the program, we are live at the White House for the annual Easter egg roll. And there's Ainsley Earhart.
Hi, Ainsley.
Hey, guys. Hey, everyone. Look, I've got a ticket. This is a ticket for the White House Easter egg roll. This is a postcard. And everyone who attends, if you're 12 and under, you get one of these wooden eggs. It has the seal on the front, or some of them have the White House on the front, and then they're signed by the president and the first lady. There are 30,000 people that are going to be here. We're going to see all the kids running around, including my own little girl will be here. So it's something that we'll remember as a family forever. I hope everyone had a wonderful Easter and Passover this weekend on this holy holiday. We're going to have Stephanie Grisham, the spokesperson for Melania, because they planned this event. We're going to have Hogan Gidley. We're going to have Kellyanne Conway, and we're going to have Sarah Sanders. So we've got a great show. Back to you guys.
No kidding.
Thanks,
All right.
Ainsley.
Wow. Thanks, Ainsley.
Jealous. You're going to have some fun out there.
It is
It's going to have
indeed.
way more fun.
We'll bring you live pictures.
That's true.
Meanwhile,
That is true.
after 21 seasons and 159 wins as a head college football coach, Tommy Tuberville is trading in his playbook to run for Senate in Alabama. The coach joins us for his first national interview next. Veteran college football coach Tommy Tuberville is ready to tackle Washington.
He officially entered the Alabama Senate race earlier this month and is now making a game plan to beat the incumbent, Democrat Doug Jones.
And the coach joins us right now for his first interview since announcing his run. He joins us from Montgomery. Tommy, good morning to you.
Morning.
Good morning, guys. How are y'all doing?
We're doing okay.
Great.
Why do you want to be the next U.S. Senator from the great state of Alabama?
Well, new chapter in my life, Steve. It's, coaching 40 years. You do a lot of different things. You meet a lot of great people. I love this country. I really do. I love this state. It's a great place. We're having problems in our state and in our country. I want to give back, and I learned leadership, communication skills, bringing people together, and that's what you do in a job like this. You use all those skills and try to make everybody better. I want to build a winning strategy for Alabama and for this country. I announced, 8 or 9 days ago, I put up my website, TommyForSenate.com, and it's been overwhelmed. I tell you, it's been outstanding just to see the support that we've had, financially, and also people just, wanting to support our campaign.
Tommy, you know, this is the age of the Washington outsider, where people are really looking to individuals who have a background like yours as being a former football coach to go in and really change Washington. So what are some of the key issues for you and how you would want to impact Washington?
Well, as you said, I'm not a politician, especially a career politician, and I don't want to be. You know, I want to be somebody that just helps out the people of this country. You know, this is a great country. I've had a chance to travel all over the world, you know, being a football coach, going to see our troops, traveling all over the country, been in homes, rich homes, poor homes, middle-class homes, out just meeting the people as a football coach. But now I want to do it as somebody that's going to help, that tries to give back. And I think it couldn't be a more. I could think 10 or 12 people that's in the coaching business right now would make great congressmen or senators in Washington, D.C.
Well, Tommy, just real briefly, I know you don't want to give away everything, but as coaches do, going into the big game, they have a strategy. What's your strategy to win?
Well, first of all, you know, I want to support President Trump, support him from day one. I'm the only candidate in this race that supported him in his last election. I believe in him. He has a great work ethic. You know, the guy's a winner. And the things that he's done, we need people to stand behind him in the Senate, in Congress, to help him get his agenda through. That's the main thing. But I want to help this state in Alabama. You know, Alabama's going to grow. It's going to really grow. We've got a Democratic senator in there right now that is not doing the things that we need to do to help the state of Alabama.
Tommy, thanks so much for coming on. Unfortunately, we're out of time, but we really appreciate you being here. We also reached out to Doug Jones, and Doug Jones couldn't come on this week, but hopefully he'll be joining us soon as well.
You never know.
Never know.
Meanwhile, straight ahead on this Monday, did you see this? A reporter harassing, some say, Robert Mueller as he left church yesterday.
Could I ask you a couple of questions? Will you testify before Congress, sir?
No comment.
Are you sure about that, sir?
Oh, you bet Dan Bongino has something to say about that. And guess what? He's coming up next.
This program is brought to you.
Welcome back. A couple of quick headlines for you. The tiger that attacked a zookeeper is back on display. Jedediah is very happy about this. Sanjeev will not be put down after puncturing a woman's head, neck, and back at the Topeka Zoo in Kansas. The employee remains in intensive care, but she's expected to make, thankfully, a full recovery. And police released 2 teenagers without charges after they were arrested in connection to a journalist's death in Northern Ireland. Police are now urging witnesses to come forward to help solve the crime. Lyra McKee was reporting on a riot last week when she was shot and killed.
Robert Mueller ambushed by an NBC reporter outside of church on Easter.
Sir, could I ask you a couple of questions? Will you testify before Congress, sir?
No comment.
Are you sure about that, sir? If he were anybody but the president, would Mr. Trump be indicted, sir?
Now that you can at least
So the Attorney General accurately characterized your positions on conspiracy and obstruction, sir.
The special counsel immediately shutting down questions related to his Russia probe.
Here with reaction, Dan Bongino, Fox News contributor, former Secret Service guy, and author of the upcoming book, Exonerated. Gee, I wonder what that's about. Hey, Dan, you know, it's one thing to try to interview somebody in the news, like Mueller is, after he dropped the report on Thursday. But there's always a line where, you know, you don't cross a line sometimes. Was that the line?
Yeah, that's a good point, Steve. Listen, I have no love lost for Bob Mueller, okay? I thought he did an awful job, and I thought his report was a gross act of prosecutorial malfeasance. But on the holiest day of the Christian calendar, to confront him outside a church, I mean, Steve, think about it. Now MSNBC and others start trying to do journalism. Okay, it's been 2 years where on Fox we've been skeptical of this whole collusion narrative because people here do actual journalism and nobody produced evidence. And now all of a sudden on Easter, MSNBC sitting around and like, hey fellas, what do you want to do today? Oh, let's do journalism. Let's go confront Bob Mueller outside a church and ask him about this report. I mean, come on, give me a break. You had 2 years to do investigations into this case. You didn't do it. You all got worked. And now all of a sudden they're trying to save face. It's embarrassing.
See, Dan, I think that the general public, though, looks at this and says, okay, now this is completely unhinged. It gets to a point where the media and Democrats have pushed this collusion narrative and pushed this harassment of people to such a point that they are going to lose voters, rational voters who are center or center left, looking at this and saying, this is a little much.
Yeah, you know, Jed, you and I see that, and I'll bet Steve and Pete do as well, and most rational people watching this. But I've got to tell you, I don't think the media people in that bubble do. I really don't.
But the voters
I think
do.
the people over at the other network there, and probably at, you know, CNN as well, are probably sitting there going, hey, this was great. I mean, they aired it, and the reporters seemed almost proud of it. I mean, did you see the hit he did from the White House lawn? He was almost like celebrating himself and laughing about it. But meanwhile, you and I are looking at that going, really?
Well,
like, I'm not even a fan of Mueller.
Well,
but
no.
come on. I mean, as the guy's leaving church, that looked horrible.
Well,
But I'll bet they loved it.
Now they're turning on Mueller because Mueller didn't deliver the goods they thought he was going to. He was going to be their savior.
Exactly.
Now,
exactly.
Now, Adam Schiff, for years now, during this entire investigation, said the evidence of collusion, of coordination, of obstruction, it's in plain sight. Well, he was on our channel on Fox News Sunday, asked about saying that time and time again. This is his response.
The fact that you may not be able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt a criminal conspiracy doesn't mean that there's an absence of evidence of crime. What more clear intent to collude could you have than the Russians offering dirt on Hillary Clinton?
Singing the same tune, Dan.
Oh, this guy is a disgrace. I cannot believe he continues to appear in front of cameras and humiliate himself in front of a national audience. I don't know if Schiff is aware, but people can see this stuff. You know, when it appears on cable and Fox News Sunday, people watch it. Like, there are eyeballs on this. I think he thinks it's a private conversation. Guys, here's what he keeps doing. He keeps producing non-evidence and insisting it's evidence. And I was thinking before I came on here, I'm like, what's a quick way to explain this? It's like you're in a bank and you take out some money from your bank account, and a day later the bank is robbed. And Schiff keeps talking about you being in the bank as evidence of a crime when everybody knows you were in California the next day and the bank is in New York. But he keeps saying it. No, but Pete, you were in the bank the day before. I didn't rob the bank. He keeps doing this with Donald Trump. He keeps producing non-evidence. He produces innocuous meetings with Russians and then just completely plain vanilla interactions with Russians as evidence of a crime, and he never produces the actual crime. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Did he just say Adam Schiff robbed a bank?
Well, if that was on MSNBC or CNN, they could probably report that, given their standards on Donald Trump. It's absurd. It doesn't have to be true.
Thanks, Dan.
Dan, thanks a lot.
Fired up as always.
Hope you had a great Easter. Appreciate it. All right, well, Ainsley is live at the White House for the Easter egg roll. Ainsley, what do you have coming up?
Hey, guys. Yes, we're sitting here with Stephanie Grisham. She's the spokesperson for the First Lady. We're going to be talking to her about the theme this year and what we can expect before the First Lady and the President come out back here. So stick around. On the other side of the break, we'll tell you some fun historical facts, and we'll talk to Stephanie.
Give me a kiss. Good morning. Welcome back. A look at our top headlines this morning, starting with a Fox News alert. Sri Lankan officials have just announced that a local militant group is responsible for the series of Easter Sunday attacks on churches and hotels. 290 people are now confirmed dead, including Americans. Hundreds of other people are wounded. At least 24 people have been arrested.
And today, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo expected to announce all countries importing oil from Iran will face sanctions. The U.S. ramping up pressure on Iran to curb its nuclear program. That change takes effect May 2nd.
Also today, Democrats hosting a conference call to discuss the redacted Mueller report. The call will be led by House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who claims President Trump did obstruct justice. Democrats are expected to consider the possibility of impeachment.
And this breaking just moments ago, Seth Moulton announcing he is running for president. The Massachusetts congressman says he's running because, quote, we have to beat Donald Trump. The third-term Democrat has already secured campaign office space. Moulton joins the 18 Democrats vying for the 2020 nomination. It all comes as The Atlantic reports former VP Joe Biden will make it official on Wednesday. And as those new campaigns take off, Beto O'Rourke's could be stalling. According to BuzzFeed, 2 top aides are stepping down. Both staffers were considered temporary and worked for O'Rourke during his failed Texas Senate. More aides will continue to volunteer for Beto.
Once Joe Biden officially enters the race, he could potentially lead the field alongside Bernie Sanders. So does this set the stage for another establishment versus socialist showdown in the Democratic Party? Here to weigh in is former presidential speechwriter Ned Ryan and Democratic strategist Jonathan Harris. Thanks for your time this morning, both of you. We appreciate it. Jonathan, I'll start with you. Just for argument's sake, let's just say these are the only two guys here. These are the only two names in the mix right now. Obviously, they're not. But what do you think between Biden and Bernie?
I think right now Biden looks good. I think we've kind of seen Bernie attempt this in 2016, and it kind of petered out as the primaries went on. I think Biden looks good. He's pretty far out in front now with recent polling, and that's with the scandals that he just recently kind of put behind him. So I think he's got obviously Obama in his back pocket. He's got name recognition going for him. I think it looks good. I think it looks good right now.
We just had a poll up on the screen there. Let's take a look at that same Real Clear Politics poll from back May to June of 2016, and that showed Hillary Clinton actually with 52.8% and Bernie with 41.4%. So Ned, you just heard Jonathan say that, Biden looks pretty good. Bernie's up there in the polls. What do you think?
Well, I have to agree with Jonathan. Coming out of the gate, Joe Biden's name ID is pretty strong, but I have to think his best day of running for president will be the day he announces. I mean, this is going to be his third presidential. All of this took place back when the Democratic Party could make claim to being semi-normal. And I think right now with it going so far left and the primary voters being more of the ideological type, I don't see them as being really Biden voters. And the thing that people aren't really talking about, Jillian, in 2016, the superdelegates inside the Democratic primary were really that last bastion for Hillary holding off Bernie. Those rules have completely changed. Superdelegates can't announce early support, and they can't vote on the first ballot of the convention. So I think it's really paved the way for an outsider and removed one of the establishment's, power bases from the primary. So I think in many ways, Joe Biden's going to have a lot more trouble in 2020 than Hillary Clinton did in 2016.
Interesting. Okay, well, we'll certainly watch that and see how that plays out. Jonathan, I want to get your opinion on this. A lot of people right now obviously talking about socialism. Is this going to be the path that people are going to want to vote? 2020 is going to be a big indicator of where we go in this country. So you look at a lot of the candidates right now who are very socialist, who are very left-leaning, and then you have the Joe Bidens of the world who are more moderate than that.
Right. I think what Joe Biden did for Obama in 2008, Biden is going to need someone to do for him in this race. Joe Biden gave Obama the experience and kind of the Washington did for Obama in 2008. Biden is going to need someone to do for him in this race. Joe Biden gave Obama the experience and kind of the Washington insider politics that he needed. And what Biden is going to need now, Biden is locking down the center. Biden is locking down kind of what Ned Ryan was alluding to, which was a little bit extra. But he was saying that, the Democrats have changed somewhat in recent years, just like the Republicans did with the Tea Party. There was the more extreme arm of the Republicans, which was the Tea Party. And I think you're seeing the same thing happening now with the Democrats. But Biden has got that locked down the center. And what he's going to need is somebody to appeal to those socialist Democrats. And if he can get someone on board his campaign like that, I think he'll be very tough to beat.
Let's stick with this whole socialism theme for a second here, Ned, because I want to bring up a number here that says 56% of people would be satisfied if nominee has socialist ideas. Now, to be fair, that's from likely Democratic caucus goers, so that's not, everybody. But, I mean, we're talking a lot more about socialism now than we have in a while.
Yeah, no, that's the party base, Jillian. These are the people that will likely turn out for a primary vote in 2020. And again, the thing that I'm a little perplexed by is strong foreign policy, all of these things. I think the Democratic Party's in a lot more trouble. Again, their great collusion fairy tale is also dead. I think they're in a lot more trouble than people want to admit. This socialism, the collusion, all of it's over. They've got a lot more trouble because I think a lot of it's outside the mainstream of the American people.
Jonathan, I know you want to respond, and I'll give you last word. Just to throw this in, we had this on a couple of minutes ago. Seth Moulton just announced, so he's added to the list of Democratic candidates. Where do you think he falls
Well, I just in responding to what Ned was saying, I mean, if Trump does try to run on the economy, I think Biden is in a very unique position to say, number one, do you really think that a New York millionaire who spent his life as a Democrat and changed over in recent years, it really has your best interest at heart versus Joe Biden, who has been fighting for the middle class all his life? Number one. Number two, the economy numbers that you referenced, Biden can very easily say those are trends that started under his leadership with President Obama. So while Trump is sitting on them now, those numbers began under Obama, and Trump called those numbers fake when they were under Obama, and then all of a sudden thought they were real when they were under him.
Ned,
So
I know you want to respond.
has a unique response to that I
Sorry,
don't think
got
any
it.
other candidate can make.
Guys, we're out of time. I apologize. We could talk about this all day. I want to get your opinion on Seth Moulton at another time as well. But for now, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Thanks, Jillian.
You can always tell by Ned's reactions.
Time now.
Thinking.
37 minutes after the hour, an ISIS bride, one of several jihadis, costing taxpayers more than $20 million in legal bills. The shocking decision under fire this morning.
There's no doubt cow farts are making the climate change. Socialism is actually short for social media. Did you know that?
This pint-sized impersonator is going viral. We'll introduce you to a little AOC next. Good Monday morning. Hope you're having a good one so far. Welcome back. Frustration growing in Mexico as another caravan overwhelms the country on its journey to the United States. Mexico, once welcoming the migrants, now reportedly clamping down, offering little aid and detaining some people. Thousands are having a tougher time finding food, rides, and temporary visas. The White House has been pressuring Mexico to handle the influx of migrants. In March, 103,000 people were apprehended or turned away at the U.S. southern border. Taxpayers could be on the hook to pay legal bills for terrorists. Experts fear aid applications could skyrocket after a British ISIS bride was given public funds to fight to get her citizenship back. She's expected to get $260,000 for her court battle. More than 100 former British citizens could follow her lead, which would cost the UK about $31 million.
A group of liberal students calls out the University of Buffalo for hosting Condoleezza Rice as a distinguished speaker. The Young Democratic Socialists of America chapter at the school writing this statement calling Rice a torturer, liar, and war criminal. They reference her time as the National Security Advisor, saying she approved waterboarding prisoners. The former Secretary of State is scheduled to speak Wednesday. The group vows to protest. And George Mason University telling its students Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh will teach a summer course despite protests. The school's president reaffirming the decision during a town hall. More than 10,000 students signed a petition opposing that hire. Kavanaugh was accused of sexually assaulting a woman in high school during his confirmation process to the Supreme Court.
Maybe not the fashion from
Sure.
the 60s, but you may want to leave your alarm clock there. Look at this.
As we're looking at really a bubble of pooling of warmer air currently in the middle of the country. Before the week's over, really everyone's going to see this. This current real warm spot there in the middle of the country, unfortunately driving a little bit of rain to the upper Midwest. Really the only big system we're paying attention to and talking about the beginning of the week. Now some heavy rain beginning to move into the northern plains. That's going to run into the upper Midwest, getting into the Great Lakes region. That going to eventually, here over the next couple of days, bring a whole lot of rain with it. So we're looking at spots getting up to 2 to 3 inches. That's in northern Wisconsin. As a result, no surprise here, an area that has seen a ton of snowmelt, a ton of rain. We're looking at flash flood warnings, watches there stretching all the way down the Mississippi. Otherwise, though, across the country, these temperatures for the week ahead look really nice. These are your highs on Monday. A lot of spots getting up into the 70s and close to 80 degrees there in Louisville. That continues, that just trend continues into Tuesday, into Wednesday, into Thursday here as we click through the week. So a really nice week heading this direction. A good week to be listening to the Beach Boys. So I'm sorry, you're going to be creeped out a lot this week.
Again, it's that video. They look like
okay.
beatniks.
Got
We've
it.
had Mike Love on the show. Mike Love looks
This is
spectacular
never going to
now.
end.
No,
Thank you, Adam.
All day.
Okay, so we're not sure this is what Republicans meant by saying investigate the investigators.
Will you testify before Congress, sir?
No comment.
Are you sure about that, sir? Would,
No comment.
if he were anybody but the president, would Mr. Trump be indicted, sir?
The major backlash that reporter is facing for confronting Robert Mueller outside of church. church.
Yeah, that was certainly a bold strategy. But first, let's check in with Steve Doocy to see what's coming up on Fox and Friends. Good morning to you, Mr. Doocy.
Hello, Todd. Hello, Jillian. Coming up on Fox and Friends, 14 minutes exactly from right now, Ainsley Earhardt is live at the White House for the annual Easter egg roll on the South Lawn. She's going to talk to Press Secretary Sarah Sanders and Special Counselor to the President, Kellyanne Conway. Plus, on our telecast today, Dan Bongino, as you can see, Tom Homan and Mike Huckabee. And veteran college football coach Tommy Tuberville is running for Senate in Alabama officially. We're going to talk to him in his first national TV interview since announcing. That comes up in the first hour of Fox and Friends. That, as I said, kicks off about 13 and a half minutes from right now, right here on the channel. Todd and Jillian trust for their morning.
I do.
Every day. Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
We'll see you then.
You bet.
We're coming right back.
Boy, this was something else, right? NBC News facing backlash for ambushing Special Counsel Robert Mueller on Easter Sunday.
Sir, could I ask you a couple of questions? Will you testify before Congress, sir?
No comment.
Are you sure about that, sir?
No comment.
If he were anybody but the president, would Mr. Trump be indicted, sir?
Wow, outside of church. Carly Shimkus with Fox News Headlines, 24/7 Sirius XM 115. Here with a lot of people who are probably pretty upset about this, about this, Carly.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. And good morning, guys. So while reporters across our nation's capital are chomping at the bit to get an interview with Special Counsel Robert Mueller, some people feel approaching him outside of church on Easter Sunday was not the best way to do it. But that is exactly what NBC News congressional correspondent Mike Vaquera did yesterday, leading to backlash online. Everybody loves Raymond star Patricia Heaton tweeting this: "Hello at MSNBC. Today is Easter Sunday, the holiest day of the Christian calendar. Some of the faithful were murdered today while they worshipped, but you ambushed Robert Mueller outside of his church and chuckled about it afterward. This is loathsome. Shame on you," says Heaton. Another Twitter user chiming in saying, "I'm all for posing questions to Mueller, but it looks like he was headed to Easter services. That seems way out of bounds for an ambush interview." Robbie also chiming in with this: "Good grief, let the man worship in peace. Mueller was leaving church at the time. He did not answer any of Vaquera's questions," responding, "No comment."
Houses of worship used to be off limits for everything. If you watch the first 51 minutes of our newscast today, you see in so many instances that's not the case.
Yeah, well, let's talk about this for a second. Carly, I grew up going to most Flyers games with my dad, and the Flyers have removed a part of the organization's history.
Yes, that is right. Picking up right where reporter Hank Flynn left off on this one, social media buzzing about the Philadelphia Flyers' decision to remove Kate Smith's statue from outside their stadium. Some people supporting that decision, others taking aim at the team. One Twitter user says, "You will lose a lot of fans and viewership over this." Another chiming in saying, "Wow, offended by a song from the 30s. This is absolutely ridiculous." The Flyers, though, sticking with their decision, saying several of the songs Kate Smith performed in the 1930s include lyrics and sentiments that are incompatible with the values of our organization and evoke painful and unacceptable themes. The New York Yankees have also stopped playing Smith songs in that seventh inning stretch as well.
Thanks, Carly.
All right, this one everybody's loving on the internet, well, except for maybe one person.
Yeah, that's right, and I wonder who it is. So an 8-year-old girl is leaving her mark on social media by impersonating Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Take a listen to this.
There's no doubt cow farts are making the climate change. Socialism is actually short for social media. Did you know that?
Ava Martinez's impersonation of the freshman congressman has been viewed over 1 million times on Twitter. Adam says she's adorable. Another Twitter user chiming in saying her timing and delivery were spot on, pure gold. And lastly, she wins the internet. So she's seeing a lot of support on social media for that impersonation.
She's really cute.
Yeah, she looks a lot like her, too.
And a really good impersonator.
Yeah.
I mean, really good.
Thanks, Carly.
Thanks a lot, guys.
It is about 7 minutes until the top of the hour. A national anthem performance turned contact sport for Gavin DeGraw.
What? Ooh. Wow. The wipeout that's going viral this morning. For composting. A bill's currently awaiting approval from Governor Jay Inslee as he makes his case for the 2020 Democratic presidential nomination, because this is the issue that everybody wants to focus on. A composting procedure could cost more than $5,000.
Wow. Okay. The Supreme Court set to hear arguments tomorrow over adding a citizenship question to the 2020 census. The Trump administration has been fighting for months to get the question included. A New York City group claims it will scare immigrants. The administration says it's necessary to get an accurate population count. 3 federal judges have previously ruled the plan unconstitutional.
All right, time now for the good, the bad, and the ugly. First, the good. The Army vet who drank only beer for Lent said he is healthier than ever. Dell Hall claims he lost 44 pounds after drinking 2 to 5 beers a day. He even feels younger with more energy and a clear mind.
I have many questions.
So many questions.
All right, next the bad. Tesla looking into why one of its cars suddenly exploded.
Ooh.
Look at that security footage showing the parked car bursting into flames in China. There have been at least 14 reported cases of Teslas catching fire since 2013.
I'm no car expert, but I don't think that's
not good.
And finally, the ugly. Gavin DeGraw's national anthem going viral for all the wrong reasons. After singing before the Predators Stars playoff game in Nashville, this happened.
God, that hurts.
Yeah, he slips and face plants on the ice, wrote on Instagram. I didn't realize singing the national anthem was a full contact sport.
Okay, we got to go. Have a good day.
Bye.